He's Nick Wright. First things first, co-host, just back from Italy there. Were you recognized in Italy?
6 times. Not that I was counting.
Oh, okay.
6 times.
Okay.
Including from a great service member who lives over there. A guy who was in from Paris, in Italy, came over and said he wants us from Paris. Yeah, Dan. I mean, the show's international. The podcast is growing as well. You never promote that. You just promote the TV show because you don't want more audio competitors. But you can also get the podcast, What's Right Show, me and my son. But it's good to see you. Your guy, Paul Paps, sent me a very nice note giving me a restaurant recommendation when he saw I was in Italy. So shout out to Paulie. I was unable to reply because I didn't have connectivity when it happened. But thank you, Paulie.
Sure.
It's very kind of him.
Yeah.
And thank you to you. Because I paid for the trip by selling that watch.
Did you?
Oh, sweet. Oh, no, I'm kidding. Of course, I'd never do that to you, Dan. Do you want to know something funny? The day before Todd texted me to ask me to come on, I had a dream that I was hosting this show and that lunatic caller, the guy who lives in Texas and hates Mike McCarthy.
Shay and Irving.
Yeah, that guy. That I hosted the show and I got there and I was all excited. I was like, man, I'm hosting for Dan Patrick. And then Shay and Irving was in studio and he's like, I'm hosting with you. I'm like, you're hosting with me. They're like, yeah, I had that dream. And then Todd asked me to come on the next day. True story.
I would promote the podcast if you gave us the information to promote the podcast, because when guests come on, they send Todd information. Hey, would you promote this? Or I'm doing this. I'm not in the business throwing Todd under the bus. I did that once. It cost him a Meat Friday. This is a Meat Friday. When the podcast first launched, I gave him that information. Now I have not given it to him every time. Okay.
But it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. I will promote it myself. What's Right Show with a new studio starting next week from my wife's boutique in Harlem. How about that? Built out a little podcast studio there. It's not quite the man cave. Instead, it's in a woman's boutique, but still pretty dope.
Okay. That's a double promotion that I allowed you to have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And shout out to your wife. All right.
Thank you.
Charles Barkley deemed Kevin Durant Mr. Miserable.
Oh, that's interesting.
Fair?
He doesn't seem happy a lot. I don't know if miserable is the way I would put it. Do you remember a couple years ago, Adam Silver said that he thinks one of the big issues the NBA has is that its superstars seem generally unhappy, and that he was concerned about that. That mercurial, I don't know if he used that word, it's the word I would use. What is odd to me is that the two guys who I would think of that come to the immediate forefront of that are KD and Kyrie, and then they came together. And I know the phrase misery loves company. I don't know if they're miserable, but I do think Kyrie doesn't necessarily like the attention that comes along with being a pro athlete and hasn't reconciled in his brain that the attention is part and parcel with the money. KD, on the other hand, I think is a very unique case in that he operates, it would appear, and he hates when people psychoanalyze him, so I apologize, but I will do it anyway. He wants to be judged purely on a nothing but how good of a basketball player are you metric. And he feels like, understandably, I'm an A triple plus student in that category, one of the greatest students ever. So why do I catch so much grief? And it's because in these shows and in not just on television and radio, but in barbershops everywhere with friends, whatever group chats, we talk about how you lead a team, what type of teammate you are. We have those conversations, and KD doesn't seem to think those are fair or like those, but that's just part of how people consume sports.
I don't think it's asking too much for you to be more than just a great basketball player.
I don't either.
I don't need you to be my GM. I don't need you to be my coach. But it feels like he wants to be GM and coach, but then like he kind of picks and chooses where you can question him. But it's really, I don't know. I got disappointed where he built this or was part of, the architecture, and then he wanted out when it got tough. But now he goes back because he has to go back because, there's no trade market for him.
It's a very odd situation that the kids would say, fumbled the bag the way he did on this. We are on a decade-plus long streak. The last superstar to demand to be traded and not ultimately get his wish was the late, great Kobe Bryant. That was in 2007. But it was almost 15 straight years of, if a guy demands out, even not a superstar, Ben Simmons, far from a superstar, he got his way. He had to wait a couple months, but he got his way. And KD kept upping the ante, up to and including demanding the coach and GM be fired, and then didn't refute any of those reports. Then there was the report that he's contemplating retirement. He refuted that one, which I think was a strategic error, because it's why when you go to court, they tell you if you're going to plead the fifth, you got to plead the fifth on all of it. If you pick and choose what you're going to answer, it can get you in trouble. By refuting one report, fair or not, it served as confirmation for many of the others. Well, you didn't refute the report that you demanded to be traded. You didn't refute the report you wanted the GM and head coach fired. And then what my favorite part of the end of the KD saga, which I don't think is ended, I think it's paused. I think if things go left in Brooklyn, this could come up again, and the trade market could heat up again, because everyone loves their team in the offseason. But all these guys are like, I won't trade Brandon Ingram for Kevin Durant. Okay, what if the Pelicans get out slow? Maybe you will. But what I found most delicious about the whole thing was the Nets statement that they released was on joint letterhead. KD's boardroom logo was on there too. Like, we got something out of this.
Partnership.
It's a partnership.
That's what stood out, Nick.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's unbelievable that they a partnership up to and including the letterhead. It was a Nets, the boardroom joint statement. I hate to bring things back to LeBron, but I will for a moment. One of the things that has been either good fortune, good luck, or picking the right people that has helped LeBron immensely is the group of people around him are brilliant at their individual fields. People can talk trash on Rich Paul for how he got started. The results are undeniable. He is an effective, excellent agent. Maverick, absent of LeBron, would have tens of millions of dollars and massive success. He's a brilliant guy. Those guys being his brain trust, as opposed to, with respect, Rich Kleiman, who I think is a fine guy, but I don't think necessarily has the experience those guys do. I think he maybe has gotten some bad advice along the way.
And what do you do if you're Steve Nash? You know, Kyrie and KD don't want you there, but management has backed you. Ownership has backed you.
You probably know Steve a little bit, would be my guess. Were you, the people who know him, I don't know him, seemed to think there was a chance he was going to just resign, to say, I don't need this. I don't want this. This is not fun. He's rich forever anyway. He loves playing tennis, could have a great life. I don't know, because what is the iconic Steve Nash image of these 2+ years in Brooklyn? It's after Game 5 against Milwaukee, what I believe is Durant's greatest game ever, when he played all 48, had 48, 19, and 10. After Kyrie went down, Harden, was playing on one leg. KD wills him to a victory, a game I was at actually, and Nash is bear hugging him at half court after the game. Just a full-on embrace. And it's kind of a funny image because KD's so much taller than him, and Nash looks so appreciative. The one thing Nash had going was the relationship. And now that seems torched. Now, the only saving grace is if KD went to him beforehand and said, listen, man, I don't want to be here. I'm not blaming you, but the only card I have left to play is I'm going to demand they fire you. I know they won't. Now I'm going to get traded. It's not personal. It's, business. But even if he went to him with that, it's still humiliating.
Yes.
It's still something that you don't want to swallow. And now he's got to do it.
It's not like Steve Nash can go to the press and say, hey, KD, he loves me. This was just a negotiating ploy, and, we're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's good.
It's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot.
We're talking to Nick Wright, First Things First co-host on Fox Sports 1, and got a huge podcast there. He's going to be at a boutique in Harlem, his wife's boutique in Harlem.
There you go.
A meet and greet. A meet and greet.
We're going to do that eventually.
Yeah.
Yep. Not yet. We don't yet have the infrastructure for it, but we will eventually.
I might stop down. Maybe I'll stop down.
I would love you to.
Okay.
It'd be wonderful. It's my turn to buy a meal.
Maybe.
So since it's my turn, there's a good hot dog stand right down the street.
I like a little street meat. Nothing wrong with that. I'll get
There's
off
a few
at
things I wanted.
125, 125th on the train. I just get off there and I just walk over.
It's exactly right. You'll be blocks away.
Okay.
That is correct.
Did you have something you wanted to bring up there?
Well, there was one sports thing and then one personal thing. I don't know
Okay.
if we have time for both. The sports thing is, there were those of us that doubted Chet Holmgren's ability as the skinniest player since Keith Kloss the NBA has seen to hold up.
Okay.
And we raised those concerns. Even those of us didn't think it would take literally one possession of guarding LeBron James for him to miss a season. So here's my question for you on Chet. What if you were the Thunder would be less concerned if he's never cared about gaining weight, never been in a weight room, never prioritized it, or if, as his coaches and family say, he tries to gain weight, he works out all the time, he's a weight room guy, and he looks like that? Because to me, it'd be less concerning if it was apathy. It appears it's inability. His body won't take it, and that makes me incredibly concerned.
In today's NBA, skinny doesn't bother me.
What about skinniest? Skinniest.
But still, it's in today's NBA. If it was, a previous generation or, 15 years
Back
ago.
when men were men?
Yeah. When scores were, in the 80s, like that great basketball was on display. Nothing like a Cavs-Knicks game with.
No, nothing like it, man. Knicks Heat back when, our friend JVG was holding on to Alonzo Mourning's leg like a rag doll at the end of a 71-68 nail fighter. All right.
Painful.
I've got the personal. Okay, personal story.
Okay.
Because Dan Orlovsky came on your show.
Yes.
And told an anecdote about how his entire empire was built on fraud.
Yes.
I think that's the short version.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in spirit of that, I'm going to tell a story publicly that I've never told. The most embarrassing moment of my athletic life.
Okay.
Because I think you will enjoy it, out of a testament to our friendship and how much I appreciate this.
And
show.
the fact that I didn't know you had an athletic life. That to me is the headline. That's the headline.
Okay. You guys saw me change that tire with my shirt off. There was no question about that. Once upon a time, I was an athlete. So in high school, I played two sports, basketball and track. Loved basketball, was mediocre at it. Didn't love track that much, but was good at it. State final of the 4x800 relay. I'm the anchor leg. On that team is Quentin Lucas, who's now the mayor of Kansas City, the mayor of my hometown. I get the baton. We're in about third place. I run the first lap. We're still in third. I'm about a quarter of the way through the second lap, and I'm passed. I'm like, oh no, we're going to fall off the little podium. Then I'm passed again. And I'm like, now we're in fifth. And I'm running out of gas. And Dan, I faked a hamstring injury. I ran the last 150 meters, holding on to my left hamstring. So I had a built-in excuse for costing my team a medal. That happened. Oh, I feel such relief getting that off my chest.
Did you have a family member come out of the stands to help you, just like the kid in the Olympics?
No, I limped and I got there. But the thing was, I thought the medal stand was just top 3. The medal stand for the state final is top 8. You get a ribbon or something. And I would have easily still finished top 8, but I faked the injury. And so we finished second to last.
Paulie, call the mayor of Kansas City to get a comment on this.
We already have an email in.
Yeah.
Oh, God. The other two people on the relay team is my dear friend Quentin, who's now the mayor, my best friend in high school, Jason Backstrom, and my girlfriend's brother, Eric Blatt. I let them all down. Dan. Oh.
Are they finding out about this now?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
My God. Who was the Olympian whose dad came out of the stands?
Oh, that was a great moment.
Yeah,
I can see it. I don't know who it was.
That would have been great if a family member came out to help you cross the finish line.
Faked a hamstring injury and then didn't know how long I had to keep up the lie. Like when I go back to school next week, do I have to have
yes,
it wrapped?
you still got a limp. Yes,
Still
Paulie.
limp.
That was a 92 Olympics in Barcelona. Derek Redmond tore his hammy in the 400 meters. His dad came out and helped him across the finish line.
Yeah.
Get him on. See if he did the same thing.
He's calling you a phony, fraud.
The fake, yeah. So that happened.
Okay. Final 30 seconds.
Okay.
KD, Ben, Kyrie, LeBron, AD, Russ. Which trio plays more games together this year?
Oh, KD, Ben, Kyrie, because LeBron, AD, Russ will play 0. That trade's happening.
So
That trade's happening.
Russ is going where?
I don't know where he ends up. I do think that everything swirling around the Pacers is accurate. I think the Lakers are going to end up with Buddy Hield and maybe Miles Turner. Russ maybe ends up there, or it's a 3-teamer, and he ends up in Utah or San Antonio.
I would love to get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. If I'm the
100%.
Lakers, okay, I like this.
Yep.
Like this a lot.
I don't like Patrick Beverly, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It happens. I think they did that as a little final salvo to Russ. How about we trade for your sworn enemy?
Yes.
And then see if you still want to be here, buddy. How about that?
Wait, you still want to be here? What can we do to get rid of Russ? How about we bring in Patrick Beverly? No, he can't play anymore. Bring him in.
Yeah, bring him in.
Make Russ go pick him up at the airport.
Can you imagine the disgust in Russ's face if at some point in a tight game he were to get subbed out for Patrick Beverly? It might. I don't think it's sustainable, Dan. I don't.
Thank you, Nick. That's Nick Wright. First things first, co-host on Fox Sports 1 and a podcast that's sweeping the world. And a boutique in Harlem. Yeah. Come and say hello to Nick and his wife.